Success is a choice, and it is a choice that you make every day of your life because that choice will be if you're going to accept yourself, if you're going to love yourself. That's the only choice that we can make each day. And it's an individual choice, meaning that you have to decide if you're going to accept who you have become. Because as you're born, you start to become something, and that continues throughout your life. And then as you're doing that, you're starting to understand so much more about who you are. And then you have to decide if you're going to embrace that. But you might have been afraid, or you might have doubted yourself. And that was perfect, because then you would understand this day and why you would make the choice today to accept yourself, because that would be an energetic choice that you would make in your life, but it would also help our world because you're alive now to help our world evolve. There's nothing that's happening accidentally. It's just that we don't always understand it, or we might ignore it, or we might ignore ourselves. I've done that, so I do understand it, and I've done that for the longest time. But today, I am going to choose success because I'm going to start to own what has happened in my life and what I can bring to the world, which is what I want for others. But again, we could have become very afraid, especially today. But today is also when you would have that impetus, that feeling that you can do more and you can take the next step. And that's what I'm doing. And that will usually require you to become vulnerable, require you to reveal a bit more of yourself. And if you're like me, that's not easy. I was the reluctant mystic, so I wasn't going to tell you anything. And I hid for so long because I thought, I'm doing something that's so weird and strange, and how could this be happening? And so I spent 20 years attempting to hide it, only to discover that it's the greatest gift that I could have had and I could have brought to the world. And the same will be true for you. That's for each of us, but we don't always move through that because we also have programming that holds us back. And so then some people come along and develop something new to help you move beyond the program, and that was meant to be me. But I denied it as well. And I hid from it, so I do understand why you might be fearful. But now, because of what I lived and had to live, there's a plan for all of us. We never need to struggle anymore. We don't have to suffer anymore. And you'll look at me and you think that's not possible, except no, it's absolutely possible because Wilhelm has given us that plan. I didn't know it either. It had to be revealed to me, just like what is within you is being revealed to you. And then we help one another understand who we are and remember that we can create something different in our lives than what we've had because we just share information back and forth. And then we decide how much we're going to believe. And sometimes belief is the most challenging thing. And it was definitely challenging for me because this had never been done before, just like your life has never been done before. But my life was meant to bring you to a place of understanding who you are so that you could live this great life and contribute to our world. Now, I couldn't have known that was happening until it was done, just like you, because it's still coming about. But I'm saying this today because I know we're going to feel different energies in your life and in our world. And so now we can understand what is occurring. It's causing you to remember how powerful you are. And no one has ever held you back. That was the one that I couldn't accept because I thought, no, that couldn't be possible. I've been held back all my life. How could that be? It was in my consciousness. It was in my programming. It was what I had been taught to believe, and also my fear of others and my fear of being seen. That's the big one because we don't want to be seen at all. That's too challenging. But today you might choose success. And I put up this message, but I was given it a few days ago, but I put it up because I knew today it would be beneficial for you. And I knew today was the day that I had to change because when we don't change, we hold ourselves back and our lives go really in the wrong direction. And I've been doing that for years because I was waiting for you to believe me. And I couldn't believe myself. And that's really what goes on. You're trying to get others to believe you, but it's you who can't believe you because you're doing something new. You came to be this new being in the world, and no one has been you. So that's why it was challenging. And that's why it was challenging for me. And then also, you could then discover that you have been given the gift that could change the world. And that's what I discovered. And I can say that because I know it's true. It was hard for me to accept it though. And I kept saying, this can't be. How did I know this? Because Wilhelm said, no, all people are equal and they have something they're supposed to do. And then if you start understanding the sciences, then you can see that all that's happened over years and years and years is that too many people have forgotten who they were. And then the world implodes. That's what it feels like. But it's not that. It's we are starting to awaken to who we are and remembering our connection to God, to Source, to all that is, whatever term you might think of, it's energy. That's all it is. It's all energy. And there is an alignment, and we discovered that. We had other people who came before, and I used Carl Jung and Einstein and all of those because they figured out our vision, our imagination is most powerful. And then we had Tesla who taught us about the energies and how planets and energies. And then we had Wilhelm who says we don't have to be even restricted by that because I discovered that I was receiving this information and was energetically aligned to what was happening in the world and how the changes in the planets. And I'm going through every horrible physical thing, but I'm healing. I'm coming together, and that's what you can do as well. And the more of us who do that, then the world would do the same thing because everything we're experiencing now is just the separation that we feel within ourselves. That's all. And it takes us time, though. It takes us linear time to understand who we are as an individual and who we can become as a world. And then we start to change things if we become willing to become successful. And that means owning who we are. And my job that I ran from was to bring in work that could help you own who you are. And I can say that because I couldn't believe it, just like you probably couldn't believe it. But now I have to finish it because it's the most um, important discovery of humankind because it is a blueprint for the new human, the new humanity of the world, where we can see something quite different than what we're experiencing now. And it can only come through you, meaning it can't come through one person or a few people. It has to come through more of us deciding that we're going to remember who we are and not be taken over by others. That's really what happens. And I can say that because there's a message that we were given on this date 5 years ago in 2020, because that's when all the information started to come together and make sense. We might have thought it was about the pandemic, but Wilhelm says, no, you're creating something different and new, and we've given you everything. And I would hear that over and over again. I think that's not possible. And then I would go and look at the information that's on the site. I just go back and look, and I said, "Oh wow, it is," because I've written it all down. And I said, "Now I know. I've everyone's question has been answered because the only question you have is internal." And so I spent years and years. I spent 36 years writing down the ways for you to find your answers. That's really what it is. This work is about self empowerment, self actualization, and developing self mastery. This is why I said that it was surprising to me that I developed the first fail proof personal development program. It is because I access the quantum field of consciousness and information. And so that's why it could answer anyone's question. I didn't know that before, but that's what was happening because I'm in a different place when I'm receiving it. As I was in a different place of consciousness when I received all of this work for 36 years. Everyone's not going to understand that because most of us don't want to look at our consciousness and understand that that is the thing that's been preventing us from becoming successful and becoming who we could be because we've been told that we should be ashamed of ourselves, that we should be embarrassed. And especially me, that I'm doing something that should not be seen in the world, except it was the best mindset work that anyone could have possibly developed or owned. And that I can say because I know that it's true. When I can tell you all the things, the physical things, the the illnesses, the diseases, all the things that have changed and transformed due to this work. It wasn't me, it was Wilhelm. And that's the point that I have to make clear because it wasn't me. I am receiving that information from a higher intelligence, and that's why it works. But it says that every person has that same ability. And the more of us who can develop that and understand our worth and value, then the world changes and we stop seeing what we're experiencing now. But let me take you to this site because I want you to see this, and I'm going to give you a bunch of documents that will help you understand even more, especially for today. Success is a choice, and this is on the website. Any advice for today? I'll leave the link for you, but you can find it. And here you'll find a channeling session that was held October 17th of 2024, and it will be aligned to today, and it will explain to you what you might be experiencing in your life and in our world today. I know that would be true. Hard to explain it, but that is what has occurred and how I received information, and I'll explain that to you because we've heard of things about the quantum field, but we don't always understand that and or have experienced it. But people come about and say everything is existing now. Well, that is what I lived. I didn't know that that is what was occurring, but that is how this work came about. And I have to say, because it's not happened in history, so it would have been difficult for others to understand it. But now it's going to be a great experiment in human potential because I'll be 75 on November 2nd. I just got to say that because it's still surprising to me because everything has been reversed and I just got all my medical records back and they look wonderful. And even with me trying to destroy it because of I was eating terribly for a while. I'm just saying, this is what we do. We do self-sabotage when we can't own ourselves. And then it becomes, we will do things that cause us to hold back because it's too scary because we might become successful if we could take the steps and embody ourselves. But there's one message I want to show you that will explain this. This message will make sense for you and our world today, but it came in 2020. No one has ever controlled you, but you have allowed yourself to be controlled. We are speaking to each of you. For your purpose and intention in living a physical life experience was so you might experience that dominion over material things of which you were taught. Because you are an eternal being, you do not accomplish this all at once. We are speaking about your world's current restructuring because you wanted to be here to aid your evolvement. You each are doing that for your reasons personally, and all of them are necessary and valid. The part you have trouble with is that they are all connected for are correct for each of you. Without contrast, you would not come to know yourself or evolve. We had Roger study centuries of history to understand that this is the process humanity uses to evolve. You can blame others, the government, the pandemic, or others for your current state of affairs, but that is not empowerment, and it is not why you chose to live. Each of you will find that for yourselves. And now we can let Roger say, now I will be successful. His example will inspire you, and you will be fine. I couldn't do it 5 years ago because I didn't understand it, because I didn't know what was occurring. Just like you don't know what has occurred within your life that keeps unfolding, and it'll keep doing it, and it'll do it even more tomorrow. That is how this works. So I will give you this because I could not have known. I've never studied astrology or any of that, but as we live, we start to understand everything is interconnected. And that's what we learn in the quantum field. Everything is interconnected. As humans, we just figure it out and we do it at different times. But then we reach periods where we don't want to do that because it's too frightening, because we get stuck and we want to stay in the past. And then we have so many people who want us to keep what was old, and we're trying to move to something that was new, and that's where you're going to find yourself in your life. That's exactly what goes on because there's no difference. What we're experiencing within ourselves is the same thing we're witnessing and experiencing experiencing in our world. And so we get to decide today if we're going to change that. And I have to change it because I'm going to finish this work now because it's the thing that my entire life was supposed to do. Just like yours was meant to do something that's probably shouting at you right now. You can never know what your life is creating until you kind of look back and see what it was. I could not know that my life is creating a complete life philosophy, but that's exactly what it is. And I say that because when you talk about a philosophy, it would be, does it work for everyone or for most people? And it does because it's only dealing with your consciousness. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, how young you are, all it's the same thing. We're learning how to do that. And I just did it for all these many years. Somebody else will come and take this information and do more. And then as humans, we develop more things. That's all that occurs. For 36 years, from 1989 to 2025, Roger Burnley has served as a conduit for channeled messages from an entity known as Wilhelm. These communications have evolved into a comprehensive life philosophy that addresses the fundamental questions of human existence, purpose, and our role in collective evolution. What began as personal guidance has grown into life operating instructions for navigating the current era of global transformation. And that is exactly what has happened. That's one aspect of it. But then I discovered something else, and you might do this as well. I've never studied astrology, I've never looked at all of that, but we do understand from even ancient times that there are energies that change and cause us to react in a particular way, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all of us. And then we decide what we're going to do with it. But the fact is, I discovered how it affects us. I didn't discover it. Wilhelm was giving it to me. Again, I've never studied this information, but I'll show you a little example and I'll give you these links because they're fun. And I just really want more people to understand you are not lost and whatever, wherever you are, you're still doing it. We all are. And it's just about understanding it, and we will each do it in different ways. My way was to bring in this philosophy. Again, as I've said, I've never studied astrology, but everything is energy. And so this little map will show you something. This is back in 2024. Wilhelm started revealing to me. They gave me messages in 2024 that would respond to what was occurring in our world today. In these particular types, that made no sense, except then it was verified that it was absolutely accurate through the entire year. And you will see that energies of our world cause us to do things. We don't always figure that out. Most people would never even look at some of these things. I certainly didn't. But then as I go back and see, it's all the things that we each move through. Give, receive abundance. How do we use those things? All of them are telling us in blame, return to love, all the things that we would go through. And the messages that Wilhelm gave us were all energetically connected. I never even understood why I was doing channeling sessions on those times. And they explained because the energies are available. And that is for all of us. And this is the period that we're in now. But I wanted to give you this today because you can choose success. That's what I'm doing. And I'm saying that because I'm doing class, my first full Wilhelm class. It's going to be in West Virginia in November. I'll leave a link for that in all of these documents. And then I'm completing this work. So I invite all of you to join. This is the last, I said, I'm changing things, and you can see on the site. I can now say why I know what you can achieve because it's been proven. I'm accessing this information that can change your life and it could change our world, the more of us who do it. But today is the time that you can choose success. And that is when you choose to take the step and own yourself. That's what we all must do today. See you soon.